Hi. Okay, so this is my Sunday afternoon, as you can tell. I'm just going to make homemade meatballs, which could be patties or meatballs or really whatever shape you fancy making them, and some homemade tomato sauce. It's one of our family staples. There are no quantities, so you make up the quantities as you want because it doesn't matter. Um, and it's really, really easy. So I've done some preparation so that you don't have to watch me chopping up vegetables because that's very boring. And so let's start first of all with the tomato sauce. Okay, so good sized saucepan. I've got 2 big red onions that I've chopped up here. This tomato sauce, importantly, what I do is I just make a big batch, and then if there's any left over, which there probably will be, it makes brilliant tomato soup if you water it down with a little bit of tasty stock, or you can just pop it in the freezer, and then you've got this lovely homemade tomato sauce for next time you have something that works really well with it. Okay, so 2 whole red onions, lots of garlic, because any of you who've seen me cooking before know that we like garlic in this house. So here's the amount of garlic. That was it was 5 or 6 cloves, but they were little tiny skinny ones, not the lovely big fat ones that I get when I use my gorgeous French garlic. Couple of tomatoes. The only reason those tomatoes are there is because they were going off and really, really needed using. If you are lucky enough to have some really beautiful, tasty, properly ripe tomatoes, I would say use tomatoes in this sauce. And the way to do that, I think the best way is you pop them in the oven just to soften. You can add a little bit of oil, but you don't have to. Literally just pop them in the oven on a sort of lowish heat. So I'd say kind of 160 to 170 degrees. Till they just start to kind of break down, and that seems to sort of concentrate the flavours and just makes them really, really delicious, and then use them in the sauce. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I use olive oil as my base to cook this in, because again I think it gives a good taste. So this is about taste, and also it's not going to be cooked at a very hot heat, so I'm happy to use olive oil to cook these in. So, and again, I'm super generous with the olive oil, so like 3 big squishes of this delicious, really nice quality olive oil. Let's get that turned on. Okay, so I'm actually going to put the onion in straight away. Other top tip, when you're chopping garlic, chop it and then just leave it on your chopping board for a while, because some amazing magic happens in terms of the kind of the chemistry of those phytonutrients in the garlic, and the goodness kind of concentrates. There's stuff that changes that makes the garlic actually better for you. So, right, so let's put the onions in first before the oil gets particularly hot, because I'm not gonna, this is not about frying the onions or anything. And I'm just going to not put the garlic in just yet. And I'm going to put the lid on. Okay, so that all just helps you cook those onions without burning them. And also it means that you can cook them on a lower heat. So just, here we go, keep that turned down a bit. So while that's just softening, so this is about softening the onion for the tomato sauce, I'm going to put this to one side and talk to you about my meatballs. Okay, so in this bowl, can you see in there? In this bowl I've got some lamb mince actually, but you could also use beef mince. Actually you could use any mince you want, but lamb mince today because we love lamb. I've got some sausage meat. Sausage meat obviously is relatively processed, so I often talk about eating foods that are as unprocessed as possible. Okay, real foods that are unprocessed. That does it sit in that category? Maybe, maybe not. It's got stuff added to it, but I make sure, because we have people in this house who don't get on well with gluten, so it tends to always have some sort of rusk in it. So you will need to check if you aren't eating gluten that it hasn't got gluten in. This is a gluten-free one. And in there, again, there is half an onion chopped up and just a little bit of garlic crushed in here. So again, going back to the tomato sauce, I don't worry about chopping the onion or the garlic finely because I'm going to blend it. I'm going to blend that sauce when it's finished. So rough cut, really doesn't matter, chuck it all in, cook it up. Just give this a check. It's cooking away nicely. So that's all that's in here so far. I am going to add a little bit of salt. This is our Himalayan rock salt in a not Himalayan rock salt container, but it is pink Himalayan rock salt. So I'm a big believer that actually it's okay to salt your food to a level where you want to. There's some really interesting research that suggests that actually as human beings, salt's really, really important for us. Salt's another one of those substances which has been demonised for years and years, possibly wrongly. So again, as with so many things, it seems like it could be that very high level of sugar and refined carbohydrates which work very quickly in exactly the same way as sugar in our bodies that actually are causing the raised blood pressure that we have so many problems with in today's society. So maybe it's not the salt. He has a great book called The Salt Fix, which... Sorry, I've got a coughing cameraman. Sorry about that, everybody. If you don't mind, Marks, this is real telly. This is not studio videoing. This is my real kitchen on a Sunday afternoon. And my daughter has got festival flu. So it's okay, thank you. Right, okay, so anyway, I put some salt in here. I'm talking away, keep going. Do you need more coughing? Okay, no. She's all right now. And it's a case of get your hands in and smash it up, okay? And I add, should have done this before, but again, can't talk and do things at the same time. I used to be able to, not so much anymore. So it really doesn't matter. There is no, well, I don't think there is. There's no science as to how many eggs you can put in your meatballs or beef burgers if you choose to make them into that, or lamb burgers. None. They just act as a kind of a binder, give it a bit more moisture, stop it being so dense perhaps. So take all your rings off and give it a good smash up. If you want to put any herbs in here, now's the time. Sometimes I add something like some really lovely Indian spices to lamb because I think that really sets it off beautifully. But today I'm keeping it just onion, garlic, and a bit of salt. Keep it simple because we're going to have this delicious tomato sauce to go with it. So that is the meatballs done. That's how easy it is, okay? There's really very little prep involved. This is super simple, real food. It does not have to take hours or be complicated. Just going to wash my hands. Okay, so let's just see what's going on with this onion. Sounds like it's cooking nicely. I'm going to have a look. So, I don't know if you can see that through the steam, but it's already starting to just soften down a bit. That's enough for me now. Keep that moisture in off the lid, keep all that. So that's enough for me. Now I'm going to put the garlic and the tomatoes in with that. So, let's get rid of those tomatoes before they fall off somewhere. There you go. And then the garlic. There. And again, I am actually going to put some oregano in this, so I think oregano goes really nicely in the sauce. I'm not going to measure it out with teaspoons. Okay, I'm just going to freehand it. Because it's personal taste, you know, unless you're baking or cooking, you know, really high-end cooking, then yeah, okay, I'm sure if anybody who really knows about cooking is watching this. Maybe you're screaming at me that I'm talking rubbish, but I don't think it really matters for you and me, kind of like Mr. and Mrs. Normal, who just want something easy, no fuss, food that doesn't take hours, and that you can swap in and out ingredients for if you just decide you're going to do something and you look in your fridge and see what you've got available. So let's leave that cooking for a bit longer. Okay, the next thing I'm going to put in there, because I don't have, unfortunately, a source of lots of delicious ripe tomatoes, is I'm going to use tin tomatoes. I use the best quality tin tomatoes you can get. I quite like these, but don't take my word for that. Just any half decent tinned tomatoes. And I think with things like that, it is worth getting better quality, because it does translate into taste, definitely. So they're going in shortly. Let's just have a look. Right, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to just put all of those tomatoes in there now. And then that sauce, there'll be nothing else I have to do to it. Okay, and what I also do, weird trick, is I just put a little bit of water in one of these out of the tap and swish it round, and I don't know if I need to do that, but that's what I've always done. So just gives it a little bit of extra sort of juice to the sauce. And then the other thing I pop in here is some balsamic vinegar. You can do this, you don't have to do this, but it just, I don't know, I find it just gives it a little bit of extra kind of interest. So that's a nice thing to add. A good old stir around. That smells delicious now. That balsamic vinegar straight away just does something really yummy to that. So there you go, super simple. Let me just go back through what's in here. 2 red onions, some roughly chopped garlic cloves, a couple of tomatoes that needed using up that look quite tasty, not necessary. 3 tins of chopped tin tomatoes, salt, more salt. You could add pepper if you're a pepper fan. Okay, I've forgotten anything, Martha. And the olive oil, which will sort of give it more taste as well. So now I am going to turn the heat up with that. Pop the lid back on. Just leave it there to have a good old bubble. That I normally cook really well. So I'm going to bring it back up to a sort of just under a boil, so it's really moving around. Turn the temperature right down so it's just gently simmering, and then I'm just going to leave it to cook for about half an hour, and that makes everything really soften up. And then I get a stick blender and literally just blend it through, and you end up with this delicious, smooth, super tasty sauce. So that's the tomato sauce done. So next I've got the oven on. I've got a big old tray, any sort of oven tray. There's some baking paper on there because I bake these. You don't need to fry them. So many recipes seem to say that you have to fry them. I much prefer baking. All of these sorts of things works really, really well. The oven's on about 180. And so literally now I'm going to use my hands to make little meatballs. So I'll just do a couple because you really don't have to watch me make all of them. Again, that would be very boring. But just use your hands, scoop out about the size that you think you want. Again, it's super easy and there's no wrong or right way to do this. And do you know what? I know I've said that a lot, but I think it's really important. I know when I first started cooking, I used to really worry about following the recipe exactly and whether I was doing it the wrong way, or, you know, it doesn't matter. And I think for most people, yes, appearance of food does play a part in how pleasurable it is to eat a food, but the taste is really important. So if you just get the taste right, then you know, you're 9/10 of the way there, I think. And then how long will I cook these for? Again, I kind of cook them till they look done. If I'm not absolutely sure, I'll get them out of the oven, cut one open. If it's still a bit pink in the middle, I'll put it in for a bit longer because I don't want pink sausage meat. And so I think they will probably take between about, I'll put them in for 20 minutes, check them. They'll take between 20 minutes and half an hour to cook. And that's it. So there you go. That's what they look like. I hope that's been useful. I hope you feel like you could do that and you give it a go. This is nutritious, healthy, real, unprocessed food, and this is how easy it is. Thanks very much.